named Andy Tanas.
In the house.
In the house.
In the house.
Well, maybe in the garage.
Well, it's, either or, yeah. Gentlemen, good to see you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm glad to be here, too.
Cool.
At my age, I'm glad to be anywhere. As George Burns used to say.
I'm glad to wake up.
I'm just glad to wake up. At my age, I'm glad to be anywhere.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. So how's life?
Life is getting real busy. Life is getting actually almost too busy. If there's any such thing, I guess it's almost like saying you have too much money or something. But a lot of out-of-town shows, and it seems like the phone is starting to ring a lot more than it used to, and people are showing much more of an interest in all things that are Andy. So that's a very cool thing for me, you know, because I thought I'd be doing something else at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought I'd be in another realm somewhere, maybe selling insurance or something. You know,
Playing on the weekends?
greeter at Walmart. You know, I thought I'd be anywhere other than where I am right now.
And
But
where are you now?
Reviving. I put the CD out almost 3 years ago, and I think I was expecting a lot more from the CD a lot quicker, you know. And I got a very quick lesson in the in what's going on out there these days, you know, in the indie realm and with the majors and all that. And I'm writing an article about it, as a matter of fact, for that's going to be posted on Cafe Express, I think, and then I think Night Flying Magazine is going to run an excerpt from it, I think. But it deals with what I've been through and what I've learned, you know, being an indie artist, you know, over the last 3 years or so. You know, actually, I think I put my first indie thing out in '89, out in L.A., but that was a pretty, I guess, what's the word, futile attempt, I guess, you know, considering what was going on out there in 1989. I don't think they were quite ready for what was then maybe early alt country or, you know, cross-genring rock and country with other things, whatever, you know. And I don't think they were quite ready for it, because that was like the Guns N' Roses kind of last days of the hair band thing out there.
Well, hasn't Bakersfield been considered the country mecca for the West Coast?
I wish I had been in Bakersfield. I wish I had been in Austin. I kept getting, all these friends of mine kept calling me and telling me, man, what are you doing in L.A., man? You need to be in Austin, you know. I said, Austin, you know. So I went down to Willie and them. I said, what am I going to do with those guys, you know? So I didn't see the importance of it, or the, you know, how much sense it made, I think, at the time, you know. And I should have, you know, because L.A., but then again, things started kind of changing around '92, and I was in a very cool band out there that started getting a little buzz, you know. We were working up and down the beach areas in the OC area out there, and OC being Orange County, I'm sorry. And I'm still thinking LA terms, you know, but
what? No gigs in Riverside?
Nah, well, I did do some Riverside shows and some San Bernardino shows, and we went up into Arrowhead a few times, and we were developing a very, you know, nice little clique of people out there that were digging what we were doing. And I've had some friends of mine in the Igniters look at an old video that we did back in '92, and they were just flabbergasted by it. They said, Andy, this is all country. This is the earliest, it looks like the earliest on record, on film stuff we've seen of all country bands. I said, well, you know, to me, I was just doing what came naturally as a Memphian, you know. That's what we do here, you know. We don't care about rules, and we don't care about regulations, or you know, that Nashville thinking, or you got to do this, or you got to do this, you know. We're all mavericks and
outside the box,
renegades here, man. We just do whatever, and then
that's for sure.
You could care less. Who cares what about it, you know? So that's the spirit of this whole area, and I love that. I thrive on that. Nice seg.
Seat of the Pants Radio.
Let her run, you know.
We've been doing this for so long.
Is that right?
88.5 FM, Juke and Jamm, Andy Tanas.
That'd be me.
Just another party.
Already?
Where'd you record that?
I tracked that at the Powerhouse Studios here in Memphis with Kevin Houston. And I went up to Nashville at Atlanta Studios with Wojtek Kochanek and finished it up there. But that's a it's still one of my favorite drum sounds of all
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but
No, no.
Kevin Houston got probably the best drum sound of all time on that thing. It just did an awesome job.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guy too.
You.
That's what I wanted. Yeah, big, just in your face rock sounds.
So how do you like recording in Nashville versus Memphis versus LA?
Well, actually, I was in Hendersonville.
Well,
And-
Franklin, Hendersonville, down Juliet, it's...
Yeah, I don't think I would have fared very well in Nashville because, probably for the same reason I never fared well in L.A. I just didn't belong out there. I mean, I kept trying to fit in and trying to belong, but I'm a Fraser boy, and regardless of how worldly I am or how many rock bands I played with or whatever, I still think like that, And I'm driving a muscle car right now, so if I was telling him the history of my muscle cars of the last 13 years or so, and but I still think like that, and I don't. Recording is it's a celebration, and it's an event, and it's not about money, and it's not about trying to capture what's hot at the time or anything else. So it's probably why I didn't fare very well out in L.A. or Nashville for that matter. But the thing about Wojtek is Polish, and Wojtek worked with the Tractors, Steve Vai, Ozzy Osbourne, and Denise LaSalle. I mean, he's got an incredible track record. He was a hot shot at Paramount, right in the center of Hollywood up there. But he doesn't think like that. He thinks very artistically. He's a great jazz guitar player. And so he thinks very abstract, almost the way I do. And he's open to anything. He's very patient, and he's very tolerant. And he'll try anything without saying, well, that'll never work, or no, we can't do that. Nobody's ever done that before. He'll do anything, And so we think alike, And being at his home on the lake up there was not like being in Nashville at all. It's like being almost in a separate, surreal world somewhere or something, But I didn't do very well in L.A. I just didn't. I was,
Well, years ago, Shoney's in Nashville, downtown Shoney's on the number.
Oh, my gosh, with a big boy out front.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was
right.
a lot of deals, a lot of things made there, a lot of songs written there,
Right.
careers made and broke, and
Right.
the whole thing. Guess where the new place is that Tanas is going on?
Same place?
Franklin at the Starbucks.
That's we should move on to something else. We should talk about. I just had a slight anxiety attack. We need to move on to something else. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, no, that's the wonders of the music business.
Or lack of, yeah.
Of course, then again, out in Fraser, we do all this at McDonald's, but
Or in somebody's garage,
Yeah.
and or McDonald's or Fill-A-Burger,
yeah,
right? But that's as it should be.
yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a little time, once upon a time, in L.A. Got relatives out there in the music business,
Is that right?
and of course, we kind of gravitated towards Pomona since we were all kind of former Fraserites.
Richie Valens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from
Yeah.
Pomona, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a cool area.
yeah.
But there's some heritage there. One of the things I mentioned in my article is the lack of culture in L.A. I mean, L.A. grew up so fast that they don't really have, aside from Hispanic or surfing. I mean, there's not a whole lot of culture out there per se. I mean, it's a big, vast, just
It's a
mishmash of everything that just grew up way too fast, I think, and so I mean that, I kept looking for old buildings out there, and
That's like Las Vegas. You're not going to see those.
yeah, that's like you see here. I mean, you go down to Midtown or downtown, or you go out into North Mississippi, or even out in the Tipton County. You see some old homes out there that just reeking with just attitude and vibe, and I never saw that out there too much,
Well, I mean, what was it, $1.5 million, $2 million plus for the average home?
And you can't afford a home if you make $100,000 a year
No.
out there.
I mean, even the trailers are out of sight.
It's not good. It's not good. I'm glad I left when I did, because I went out there, at the end of the Black Oak saga in 1980, and I had toured with them the entire year of '79 with maybe 1 month off, I think, and it was it was like the Titanic. I mean, it just keeps sinking and sinking, and you keep running toward the other end of the ship, trying to stay away from the water, or getting pulled under, and it was so hard, man, just being out there, and dealing with that. So and going from the compound at Oakland, Arkansas, where I lived, that was 35 miles from the nearest small town to L.A. was a huge culture shock for me. It took me almost 2 years to adjust to it. I was used to crickets and hearing things rustle out there, and
Not gunfire all night.
yeah, raccoons coming up and getting the trash. And out there, I'm just like, you got police helicopters with spotlights on your house, combing the area out there. There's a siren about every 30 seconds.
News from Channel 4.
Earthquakes, fires. What's next, man?
Police chase.
Pestilence and famine. It's like it's very apocalyptic out there, and I'm glad I left when I did. I found out who Andy was when I came back home. That's a good thing, because I had no idea. I went out there in '80, just ambitious and just just full of testosterone and just ready to take on the world and carry on my rock dreams. And I left there in '93 with anxiety attacks and a borderline addiction to Ativan, and I didn't know who I was anymore.
Sounds like everyone out there knew from LA.
I was neurotic. I was sizably neurotic when I left there. I was clueless, and I came back here and I took care of my mom before she died. And she lived out off 64, and I'm back to crickets, and sounds of the country. And it was so quiet. I just laid there one night. I think the first 4 or 5 nights I was back, just laying there listening to nothing. And it was incredible. But the smartest thing I ever did was come back, find out who Andy was all over again. That's a good thing. You gotta know who you are, man.
Well, you got to know who you are before you can be somebody in the music business.
Very much so. If you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're writing about.
Tanas.
That'd be me.
Who's the guys that played on that track?
That's me and Cody Dickinson.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
The wonders of modern day technology.
Not by my choice, though. If I had to do it all over again, I would have loved to have. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. This be my CD. This be me. Right here. When I was a little boy, that was a UFO. Okay. Did you notice a UFO?
Yeah.
You did? You'd be surprised how many people call me up a year later and say, Andy, there's a UFO in your CD. Hello? I know. That's me right around the corner from where I grew up out of Benjastown Road, on a little side road that's been shut down and turned into a hunting reserve out there. But I wanted something that was close to what I grew up at. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents when I was little, because my mother, she was married like 3 times, bam, 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 from the time she was like 19 to about early 20s, maybe, something like that. And, of course, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and their house on Benjastown. I'm sorry, their house was on, Benjastown Road, right off of Billion Road out there, in northwest Shelby County.
And then go to andytanis.com to get that.
Absolutely, yeah.
AndyTanis.com.
Yeah, T-A-N-A-S.
For those that are in Raleigh, spell Tanas.
That would be T as in Tom, A-N-A-S as in Sam.
You know about that rivalry between Raleigh and Fraser?
Some of my best buds were in Raleigh back then, and I was in a band with Joe Santucci. Joe played with Doc McGee, and I think he was in Bluff City, and a few other bands, even Steven, and we did a talent show at Tresvant back around like 70, 71 maybe, and there was another band there from Bartlett, and of course us being all like roosters in the backyard, we kind of like walked around each other, kind of strutting and kind of checking each other out, well, it was Steve Ingle and Chip Thomas, and they had a 3-piece band. And if I remember right, it seems like we both ended up wanting to do Mississippi Queen, I think. And there was some little confrontation over, maybe the other band has to change a song or something, and then it was like, well, and so that's where I met Steve Ingle. Steve went on to do Creed and all that other cool stuff.
Well, back, this is way before the days of gangs as we know them today.
Yeah, we had gangs back then.
Well, If you were in a band, you were in a gang.
We were in a band. That's right.
That's
Thank you very much. That's right.
In
Yeah.
the 60s and early 70s,
Mm-hmm.
the battle of the bands wasn't about how well you could play.
Mm-hmm.
It was meet me in the parking lot.
Fraser Community Center. I saw some of the greatest bands of all time.
Skating.
Skateland. I stood outside and on my bicycle and listened to the Yardbirds play there in like 1966, I think 67, something like that. My mother wouldn't let me go to it. She wouldn't give me the money, which I think it was like $2, maybe $3.
2 or 3.
Yeah, and so I got on my little Barracuda bicycle,
With the banana seat?
with banana seat and the high-rise handlebars, And I told my mom, I said, I'm going down to my grandmother's house, and I hightailed it up to Skateland and sat outside. Of course, it was all metal, so you might as well have been inside. But I sat out there and listened to them for a good 15 minutes or so, and then got nervous and went back home. It was too much, I think, for a kid 11 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was way too much, way too ethereal,
Yeah, but I don't know how many battle of the bands that I was involved with back in the 60s. The old T. Walker Lewis wine.
Oh my gosh.
And CYO clubs.
There you go.
One thing
Right.
another. Like it's all the guys from Bartlett versus those from Treadwell versus Kingsbury and Fraser, the different rock and roll scenes. And I figured out early on, now if I get to know a guy over here and I get to know a guy over there, then maybe there's some bit, a chance that we can survive not having something done to the cars or to us, or even the fact that when you go to the studio and you're trying to make tapes to be on Talent Party,
Right.
some of the tapes won't conveniently be erased by the time they get to Channel 13.
There you have it. There you have it.
Have I pretty well summed up the 60s music scene in Memphis?
I think so, but at the same time, there was a lot more camaraderie
There was.
back then between all the bands that were doing that sort of thing, and a lot more support between band members. I graduated in '73 from Fraser, and I went right into the thick of what was left of the Memphis music scene around '74, '75. And I remember specifically a kind of feeling like a black cloud had come over the area because American had shut down, Stax was having serious trouble, and there was so much competition between bands. It just wasn't thriving like it was, 5, 6 years before, where there was like 1,000 garage bands all over Memphis, and they were all working, doing something, sock hops, birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, teen clubs, whatever, and even playing in clubs for that matter,
Sure.
And it just wasn't thriving, and it didn't have that same vibe that it had years earlier, and it got very cutthroat among the players. And I remember hearing stories about, an agent would call up and they'd have a gig up in Cape Girardeau, that paid $400, which was big money back then.
Oh, yeah.
And you would have, band A that would, say, well, we'll do it for $350, and then another band would come in, another cover band would come in and say, well, we'll do it for $325, and then it's that thing, that edge, I think, that camaraderie that was holding us together was lost, and we need to get that back.
Well, I also remember being at Memphis State during that time.
Right.
And everybody's going, geez, here we are music majors, but where are the gigs? We can't find the gigs.
Not good.
And then somebody else you bump into along the way and you say, oh, well, we're going up to Nashville.
Yeah. Or Jackson, Mississippi. There was a lot of stuff going on back then. Or even there was a lot of these little country clubs. Not country clubs, but clubs that were in the country, like in Jonesboro, Helena, Paragould, and that's where the money was. And that's where the people would show up, just in huge numbers to come see you play. And so yeah, we need to get that back. We need to get that Memphis thing happening again. We lost our edge years ago, and it saddens me that we haven't made some kind of attempt to reunite with each other. And that's what we need.
Juke and Jamm, Andy Tanas,
Yeah.
Crying Angel.
True story.
I like that guitar on it.
And you're a Fraser boy, right?
And Raleigh Fraser.
Raleigh Fraser. Did you ever go out to the Crying Angels back then?
Yeah.
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 It's a scary thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
weird thing.
Because I remember sitting in study hall in the 11th grade. Some friends of mine had just learned to drive. They just had the car. And I said, we're going out to Shelby Forest. And I'm thinking, well, what are the two popular sites that teenagers in 1968 go to in the Memphis area? It's either Booty Village or the Crying Angel.
Crying Angel, yeah.
It certainly is not Shoney's.
Did you ever know the story behind it?
No. Enlighten us.
There was a gentleman that came over from Ireland named Andrew Rimber, I believe. My story might be a little off, but I think I'm in the ballpark here. He came over and he bought the land out there that the Angel sits on, and he developed what is still to this day the largest working farm in Shelby County. He raised a family, they had a bunch of kids, and he lost one of his sons in the Battle of Shiloh. And he and an uncle and I believe a field hand drove in a wagon from Memphis to Shiloh in the thick of all that.
While it was going on, matter of fact.
Which was a pretty perilous journey for the time because there was a lot of renegade soldiers on both sides, highwaymen, cutthroats, carpetbaggers, I mean, you name it, I mean, it was out there.
Sounds like Frazier today.
Basically, pretty much. But, but I'm just thinking, I mean, that's what, 120 miles from here, I think,
Roughly.
In a wagon, We went up there, he got his son's body, and his son's horse survived the battle. So he brought them both back here, and he buried his son in the cemetery. He was so despondent over the war. He was angry at the North for coming down and doing the devastation they did to the South, and he was angry at the South for initiating the war, and upsetting the balance of things that he had going on at that time. So he sent all the other kids off to school in Canada, and to keep them out of the war. Carpetbaggers, scallywags came in, shortly thereafter, and a lot of the family were murdered. And if you were facing the Angel, to the right, there was a row of graves right there, and that's the Rimber family that's buried out there. And they basically the son that came back and found all this is the one that inscribed that curse on the front of it, which is really sort of a very strange paradox because, I mean, you're looking at, this beautiful statue of this angel kneeling, with her arms open to the heavens, and then on the front of it you're reading this curse that curse is the worst bunch of scalawags and cutthroats ever to come down. And that poor angel has seen some very, very hard times. It was stolen back in the 80s, I think, by Satanists. Ended up at a yard sale, and I believe Miss Goforth, I believe who's one of the historians, found it there, or somebody that knows her found it at a yard sale and bought it for $100 and took it back out and contacted the state of Tennessee, and it's now a national landmark. Big fence around it, it's now one of the oldest cemeteries in the state of Tennessee. It's still, preserved. Amazing, it really is. But I mean, for us, it was a bonding experience because, I mean, there was about a group of us from Frazier that didn't really fit in with, hippies or straights or the jocks or anything else. We were just kind of, on our own, and all we had was each other pretty much. And so for us, we used to crawl in my Dodge van and and get loaded and go out there. So
you do a song for us?
Sorry?
Do a song for us?
I'd love to. Yeah. I'm gonna do a sarcastic, cynical love song off the CD. This is when I first moved out to L.A. I was right off my rock star stint, and of course I met up with all these Hollywood girls, and I was in and out of relationships, just one after the other, and I think after the first 5 or 6 of these, I mean, you start developing a cynicism and almost a sarcastic nature about relationships in general. Plus, you're in the belly of the beast out there, right in the thick of Hollywood. So there's not a whole lot of sincere folks out there to begin with, But this is one of the ones I wrote from that. It was called Damage. ask me how I am. You did all you could to tear me down. And I appreciate the thought and your concern for me. Do you think that I'd be over you by now? 'Cause I loved you more than any man alive, and died when you tore us apart. Yeah, but slowly but surely I'm recovering. It's just a little damage to my heart. There's no doctor I can turn to, no pills that I can take. I've known my condition from the start. And don't be too worried, don't be too concerned. It's just a little damage to my heart. To get hard, down on my knees, wondering if your love set me free. And my heart, well, it's a wearing kind of thin, 'cause of what you've done to me again. Oh, oh. There's no doctor I can turn to, no pills that I can take. I've known my condition from the start. Yeah, now don't be too worried, don't be too concerned. It's just a little damage to my heart. Yes, it's just a little damage to my heart. Oh, oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, before you leave today, we're going to get you to do a little Britney.
I'll do some Britney for you, sure. I'll get all up in some Britney, man.
So, whereabouts are you performing around the Memphis area currently?
Very, very little. I do what's called the Andy Show at Kudzu's every once in a while, you know, when they have an open night, but almost everything I do is out of town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Look at your bio here, and I was wondering, let me put it this way, I'm sure we got a lot of mutual friends we just weren't aware of.
Throw some names at me.
Well, it says here you did audio for Leonard Skinner and a few of the other Southern rock groups once upon a time.
That was the, there's a very interesting story behind that. I don't know if we have time to go into it, but if it hadn't been for Ronnie Van Zant and Gary Rosington and Artemis Pyle, none of the other stuff would have happened. I was straight out of Frazier at that time, 1975, January 75, and clueless, and I was caught up in that, what we were talking about earlier, that very dark kind of Memphis music scene that was going on then, and there just wasn't much future for me here, you know, and getting the job with them exposed me to things that I'd never seen in this area before, and it was a very, very cool thing.
You ran sound now, right?
I wasn't really running sound. I was in charge of the right side of the stage back then, and but that was the first headlining tour that Skinner did. It was supporting the Nothing Fancy, and this was right off the Quadrophenia tour, and you know, I have a running joke about, you know, people yelling "Freebird" at the shows, you know, stuff like that, you know, and you know, I keep a little club right behind me, you know, and specifically for that reason, you know, but. And I'll tell people, I said, look, man, I'm not going to do Skinner. And I said, I'm sorry, I just can't. I said, I saw that man at their height, you know, at the pinnacle of what they were. I said, I haven't seen a band in 30 years that does Skinner, you know, like they did back then. I said, like, I'm going to get up here and do it? I don't think so, you know. And but they were probably, without a doubt, one of the greatest rock bands I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just bar none. I mean, they're just... No big lights, no big, you know, no big production, just them out there doing what they did. And and they were absolutely amazing. And it broke my heart when the crash happened.
Oh, me too.
It did. It broke my heart, and I really did grow to like them. And when I got the job at Black Oak, they sent me a telegram or something to the office, congratulating me for getting that gig, because the last thing they said to me in '75 as we parted company was my nickname was T, and they said, T, if we see you back out here, they said, we're going to kick your. I said, okay. I've got it, But they were just very supportive about me getting out. And
you still play bass with Black Oak, right?
I did play bass with Black Oak, yeah, and a little bit of guitar on the record, and did some writing for them.
I had a friend that A&R for Warner Brothers, Bill Hale.
Oh yeah.
And he's been dead now about 10 years.
Oh man.
Anyway, he'd come to Memphis. He had family here,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd come here just to get away from LA.
Right.
And for those out there in the radio audience, it might be worth 2 cents. I don't know. He was the guy that actually got Prince the record deal with Warner Brothers.
That was a very significant signing.
And it was shortly after that Warner Brothers said, "Oh, we're going to move you to Nashville."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "No, I'm tired of the music business. I'm out of here."
Mm-hmm.
So he eventually came back to Memphis. But point being, he knew more people, more clubs,
Mm-hmm.
more obscure things than I could ever dream of.
Right.
And so one 4th of July, he says, "We're going to a little party out in East Memphis, and you'll love it. You'll love the people when you get there."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Okay." So we got in the van and headed over there.
Sure.
Ended up at Howie Goodman's house.
Hey, rings a bell.
Howie Goodman managed Elton John
Oh yeah.
and
Right.
a few other big name acts.
Right.
Lived out in East Memphis.
Right.
Had an office in Atlanta and one in Los Angeles.
Right.
And at this party was the whole sound crew for Leonard Skinner.
I seem to remember that, but what year was that?
Oh, it was back in the 70s, early 80s maybe.
That might have been after probably.
But Howie
Yeah.
had a party every year was the thing.
Okay, right. There was so much going on back then, man. I'm so blessed to have been with those guys, and then to have been in that late '70s, rock thing, was going on, and then to have done that thing with Crocus in '84, '85. I mean, those were the banner years, I think, for all that stuff, And these guys, you're talking about the A&R guys. They had all these obscure stories and knew all these people and all these clubs and everything. That was their job. They were a walking just plethora of information.
Oh yeah.
And those guys had foresight, and those guys had vision. And you talk about the guys like Irving Azoff and John Kalodner and David Geffen and all those guys. I mean, Ahmet Ertegun. These were men of vision. I mean, say what you will about them. I don't know their personal lives or anything, but they were significant men of vision, and we don't have that anymore. All of your A&R guys now are coming out of, music business colleges, MTSU and all that, and you can't teach foresight, but you can't teach vision to these people. And so that's what is wrong today with the entire music business, I think. You're not hearing any cutting-edge stuff. I know the stuff sitting on people's desks right now that would just probably blow you away if it ever got to, to be heard. But, when you have to answer to stockholders, your priorities change. And, these guys, they come in and they're gone. They have a shelf life of maybe a year or two. And, if you don't deliver, and the only way they know to deliver is by putting something out there that has done well before and they know might be a sure thing. Unfortunately, the sure thing is getting tired and boring, and people are looking toward indies as being the more cutting-edge people now, and that's what it's all about. But there's a revolution going on right now with music right now, but unfortunately in the indie realm, we have a lot of sheep and no shepherds, and that's what's wrong with the situation right now. There's a whole lot of great indie people out there, and there's lots of people that had major record deals that have lost their deals that are now indie. The problem is that these people, the key figure people, are not coming out and stepping up forthright and saying, I'm an indie artist now because I want control over what I'm doing, and this is what happened when I was with the majors, and I sold millions and millions of records, and then the first year I didn't sell millions of records. Now I'm an indie artist. Now I'm out the door, and like I said, people are looking right now toward other things.
We need to cut a quick promo here because Joe's going home.
Okay.
We'll do that, and we'll play another selection off the CD.
You're listening to Juke and Jamm and Juke and Jamm Memphis.
Say, hey, I'm Andy Tanas.
By the way, I am Andy Tanas.
All right, cool. That'll work. WQOX-FM Memphis.
And Juke and Jamm Memphis. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I've never heard that track before. That's an interesting way you ended that.
I got a lot of criticism over that track because it's dealing with the part of Southern males that most Southern males don't want to talk about, you know, and a lot of my Bubba friends, you know, they after they heard the CD, they would write me emails or call me and say, Andy, I don't know, man, that Southern side of me, that spooked me, Bubba. That spooked me real bad, man. You know, I said, did it touch a nerve in you? He said, yeah, too close to the bone, way too close. I said, well, that's what it's supposed to do, you know. So, you know, you got it, you know, basically. You know. But it's about, you know, we're taught as Southern men to suppress our feelings, you know, a lot of times, and a lot of, you know, especially growing up out in Fraser. I mean, that was a rough area to grow up in, you know. All we had basically was Firestone and International Harvester, and it was tough. I mean, a lot of our parents and grandparents came out of the Depression, and you know, we're still carrying scars, you know, going back 30, 40, 50 years, and they passed that on to a lot of the kids out there, you know, and these are kids that, you know, are being taught, you know, to you know, free love and listen to music, and then you know, drop out, tune in, turn on, that sort of thing, you know, but yet they're still getting this thing from the parents of, you know, no, you need to get a job, get out of high school, get married, you know. Just,
20 years at the same job.
basically, follow the straight and narrow, you know. But I watched my grandfather die of lung cancer a year after he retired from Firestone. So I said right there, not for me, you know, it's not for me.
I had a cousin who worked in Harvester.
There you go.
And I knew all the stories.
What do you do after, I mean, when Harvester shut down, where'd these guys go? I mean, you know, that was their whole bread and butter out
Well,
there.
he moved to Millington.
There you
Started painting houses.
Yeah. Self-employed. There you go.
Anyway, we're going to let you do another song, but before we get into that, I want to touch on something else real quick.
Sure.
The country music scene in Memphis, do you consider yourself a part of that still? I mean, there really was a limited country scene in Memphis through the years.
Mm-hmm.
And your music is kind of sort of on the country side of things. Do you consider yourself part of the current country thing?
No, not really. No, I've had a real hard time blending in here for some reason because I've had people tell me over the years that I have a very threatening persona about me. You know, I think when I was in L.A., I built up a lot of defenses and I built up a big wall of you know, trying to be something other than I was, like a tough guy or something. You know, and so I think I'm put off by people. But when I moved back here, I was far too assertive, I think, in trying to get into a lot of the little cliques here in town, you know, and when the doors wouldn't open for me, I just basically just kind of shut myself out from it and started doing what I do and working more with people out of town. So I really haven't fit in with anybody here, to be honest. But that's okay though. I mean, because I still love the area and I love all the people here, you know, and I'm a big fan of so many guys. You had Jimmy Davis on last week, and I'm a huge fan of his. You know, John Kilzer, I'm doing a show with John in about 3 weeks, I think, in Hot Springs.
He's going to be a guest with the Songwriters Association coming up at Moe's in about a week or two.
He's brilliant.
We'll workshop with him.
He's raised the bar on songwriting as far as I'm concerned. He's a brilliant guy and a real sweet guy too. And by the way, the school that he's going to right now online is the London School Seminary, which is probably one of the most prestigious seminaries in the world, I think. And here John is. I think John's getting his PhD from there. I believe, you know, it's taking up a lot of his time. And
I remember when he taught English at Memphis State.
The guy's brilliant. He's just absolutely just a sweet guy too. Just unpretentious and very, very even keeled about things, you know, and just nothing bad to say about anybody or anything, you know. Even if he has a problem with it, he'll phrase it in such a way where it doesn't sound bad at all, you know.
Songwriting, any when you write a song, any method you use or techniques or whatever?
I'm just basically, you know, a bad thing happened to me when I moved to L.A. About the first 2 years I was out there, I fell in with a bunch of writers that were kind of more along the mercenary line, you know, and just writers for hire. And
sounds like everybody on Music Pro.
basically, yeah, except it was the L.A. version of it, you know, so a little bit more cynical, a little bit more jaded, a little bit more geared up toward money only, you know. And I was just kind of tuning into what I thought was the art of it. I'd gotten away from the Black Oak thing, and it wasn't about writing hit records anymore. I just wanted to write about what I knew, and Crying Angel was written around that time. So I was kind of tuning back into that, but I was falling in with these people, and they would call me up and say, okay, Andy, A&M's looking for tough chick songs. It's okay. What's it got to do with me? And I said, well, we need to get together and write some tough chick songs. So first of all, I'm not tough. I'm not a chick either. So what do I know about this? You know, well, it doesn't matter, man. You know, we just throw some stuff together, you know, and pitch it at them, you know, and go from there. And I tried to tell him. I said, man, look, I can't write about what I don't know about. I just can't. I can't sit down and just make up rhymes, you know, about inane subjects, you know, that I have nothing in touch with. I just can't do it, you know. And so I kind of fell away from them. But getting back to it, when I moved back here, I just exploded with all these songs, you know. It was just, I tuned back into writing about what I knew about, and I didn't follow a pattern of writing about lyrics first or music first. If an idea came in my head, I immediately went to, and started writing stuff down and trying to capture it. And the more spontaneous it was, the better it came out, you know. And so, I really couldn't tell. I sat in on Nancy Apple's songwriting class at the University of Memphis about 3 weeks ago, and I told these guys, I said, you know, if you're looking for somebody to tell you how to pick songs in Nashville or, you know, how to write hit records, I said, I'm not your guy. I said, I'm writing about things right now. I'm writing about my stepfather and his strange relationship with my mom. I'm writing about, old women, you know, pinching young guys' butts. I'm writing. I'm on anything other than what is typical songwriting, guaranteed sales stuff. I'm just not doing it anymore. You know? And I'm much happier, and the shows are much better, and people seem to like what I'm doing a lot better now. I think they're identifying with it. You know.
Speaking of shows you play, again, kudzu periodically.
Every once in a while, but if you go to andytanas.com, or you can go to my MySpace site, it's myspace.com/AndyTanasRocks. All the dates are on there. I'm going to Johnson City next week. I'm headlining the Casbah on Friday night, and I'm doing the Jonesboro, Tennessee, which is about 20 minutes from Johnson City, at the Cranberry Thistle.
For those of you that are not from East Tennessee, it's the Tri-City area.
Tri-City area, right, which is turned into a very cool music scene up there. You know, and so I'm doing that, and then I think the week after that I'm doing Jackson, Tennessee, and maybe Little Rock, I think, after that, and then me and John going to Hot Springs after that.
I remember for years and years driving down I-40 in North Little Rock, and the club that was over there close to Maybelline.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing your name on the marquee.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm going, geez, that's cool.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the name of it? I used to see it too. What was the name of that club?
Little country bar over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bar over there.
It's called Country something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I remember something about that, yeah.
About that time when that was going on, I was playing in the house band with Vapors and all that stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
It'd be
There's
so
a blast
cool.
from the past.
It'd be so cool to go into this place, you know, and it looked like Little Rock's equivalent to the Vapors.
Going back to your question about the country scene here in Memphis, by nature, I think, you know, Memphis artists are far too diverse just to be country artists.
They are.
Jerry Lee is a prime example of that, and all these guys that came out of Memphis, like Charlie Rich and all these guys. I mean, I never really got the perception that these guys were pure country. You know, they had too many more elements going on. There was a bluesy kind of gospel feel to what they were doing. There was a Delta kind of feel to their vocals, you know, and it just almost transcended country. You know, looking back on it, you know, Jerry Lee and even that country stuff that Elvis did for the time, Charlie Rich, Ronnie Millsap, and that was the very cutting edge stuff. I mean, that to me had as much clout as anything that came out of Austin, you know, or the outlaw country thing. I still have this image in my head of Charlie Rich burning that piece of paper that had John Denver's name on it for being voted Country Entertainer of the Year or something, or whatever. And he stood right there on stage with a big sneer on his face and burned it, you know, just showing that, you know, what does John Denver know about country, you know? But it's just, I mean, that's what we're all about here, you know. Just.
Well, yeah, I understand you've got a couple of interesting songs in your show.
Songs.
Yeah,
these
a
are
Britney
songs,
song. Yeah.
These are songs that are I called songs that are lost in translation, you know. And I do several of these, you know, where I just take songs and show people that when you get past the fluff and the hype and everything else, you know, that there actually is a very cool song, you know. But you really haven't lived until you see a 53-year-old, 6'4", 215-pound guy do Britney Spears. You know, it just.
Do you dance?
Well, I move around. I, for lack of a better word, I'm not really a dancer per se. I'm too goofy and lanky to be that, you know. But I do move around, and I'm very expressive about what I do, and I'll throw some rock star moves in there every once in a while, you know. But dancing, it might be a stretch, yeah. But you know, when you watched when you saw Britney's video that came out at the time, you know, it was. You're looking at a 16-year-old girl, you know, dressed up as a, you know, provocative Catholic school girl, you know, and she's singing the song "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." And when you get down to the lyrics to it lyrically, though, it's a very, very well-written, cool song. It's got great chord changes, you know. And I usually tell people that, you know, I'm a big fan in facing my fears. You know, like if you have a fear about something, you know, if you're a fear of heights, you should go up on a tall building. You know, if you have a fear of airplanes, you should fly a lot, you know. And so I said, I have a very strange fear about this, so this helps me to overcome my fear, you know. So you hear, oh baby, baby, how was I supposed to know something wasn't right here? Oh baby, baby, I shouldn't have let you go. Now you're out of sight, yeah. Show me what you want me to be. Need to tell me, cause I need to know. Because my loneliness is killing me. I must confess, I still believe when I'm not with you, I lose my mind. Give me a sign, yeah. And hit me, baby, one more time. And that's what you get.
Cool, man.
But I do that. I do.
Yeah.
I do a real cool version of what was turned into a cool version of "The Waterfalls" by TLC, you know, and 18 in Life by Skid Row. The Night That Drove Old Dixie Down. You know, just, I mean, I'll Fly Away, you know. And I tell you what, man, you haven't lived. Joe was there that night, but I think they asked me to do an encore the night I played at Kudsu's. And I had a whole room full of drunk people at 1 in the morning singing "I'll Fly Away" with me, you know. And so I figure, you know, when I get to heaven, if there's any question about whether I'm in or not, you know, they said, "Well, Andy, why should we let you in here?" I said, "Go back to this night at Kudsu's, okay?" And I had a whole room full of drunk people, you know, heathens and everything, singing "I'll Fly Away" at the top of their lungs. I said, that should get me in, okay? But, yeah, we had a great time that night, you know, and I hope to do more of that. But we have so many great songwriters here in town that are just all out there clamoring for work, you know, and so I don't know. It's hard on me to get gigs in town, you know.
Well, it truly is anymore an independence genre.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the whole music thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Was recently saw where EMI and I think it was Warner Brothers were negotiating over merging, and that would bring us down to what, 2 major labels?
That would
Roughly?
be adding more size to the belly of the beast, basically.
Yep.
You know, and I don't understand. Well, I do understand. I touched on it earlier about the, you know, reporting to stockholders is different now than it was back in the 80s or 90s. You know, so I don't really see why they're not getting it. I mean, every year, you know, they're selling less and less CDs. You know, people are clamoring and just begging for something different, you know, and something that's more cutting edge. And now with all these glorified talent shows on TV, you know, and all that, I mean, that basically are just cover bands, you know. I mean, you're doing cover tunes, you know, and exposing these people to millions. But there should be an indie version of American Idol. I'm sorry.
There should be. That's a
there
good
should
idea.
be an indie version of it. There should be somebody that does their own material, that you know, that's unknowns, you know, and it shouldn't be about how pretty they are or how big this is or how, you know, perky this is. I mean, it should be about something other than that. And maybe I'm being too idealistic about my thinking here, but that's what it should be about. I think, you know, I think it'd be a huge hit. And you know what? We should do it here.
Yeah.
We should do it in Memphis.
Yeah. Sure. How you doing your tape?
10 minutes left.
If you don't mind, do a live version of Enter All the World.
Oh man, twist my arm. Twist my arm.
You want to take a quick break? We'll come back and do that.
Well, we could if I had something queued up.
Here's
Live radio.
We're at the seat of our pants here, folks.
Yep. Live radio. Well, let's see here.
I lost my house in '79 when I was in L.A. Trying to get a record deal with what was left over with the Black Oak Band. Sean Lane was in that band, as a matter of fact. And we had to fly from L.A. to Montana, do some shows up there. I got off the plane, and that little voice over the intercom was like, "Andy Tanas, pick up the white courtesy phone, please. Andy Tanas, pick up the white courtesy phone." And I went over, and it was my manager, and he said, hey, partner, you sitting down? I said, "No, I just got off the plane. I'm standing up." He said, "Man, your house just burned down." I said, "Really?" And all of a sudden, it's like you start thinking about everything that was in that house. And of course, the first thing I thought of was my PA system, and then my 4-track, and then my power amps, and then all the microphones, and all, and what
Pictures.
And then, I mean, months later, I mean, he had me compile a list of everything that was valuable in there. But there were some things like my great grandfather's sheepskin vest that he gave me when he died in '69. You know, can never be replaced. You know, my all my ribbons and from the horse shows I used to go to out in Fraser, the Fraser Saddle Club, and you know, the Fraser Ranch and the Woodstock Cuba Saddle Club, and all my trophies and plaques and everything from doing speech and drama at Fraser. I mean, it was all gone. You know. Yeah.
Couple of storms got all my goodies.
Oh.
Hurricane Elvis included.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. Such is life.
Would there ever be any sort of explanation about how and why that happened?
No.
You know, how that thing jumped across that levee down there, started up basically right on the edge of downtown, and just swept through, just like, you know, it's like a blazing tornado or something.
The good thing was
Her Own Little World, briefly, this song was written about the year I spent in Nashville in '76. And I was telling you on the break here that I was good friends with this exotic dancer named Heaven Lee. You know, nice little play on words. You know, but Heaven was she was a tall Cuban, absolutely drop dead gorgeous woman. Used to be a June Taylor dancer with Jackie Gleason back in the '60s. But she moved to Nashville and became a local celebrity. And she used to speak at universities and at you know, Kiwanis Club meetings and that sort of thing. But she worked at the Black Poodle in Printer's Alley up there, and I was standing out there one night with the bass player from the country band that was right next door to him, and it was, you know, he's out there, we were smoking a cigarette, you know, and I looked down the alley and I saw this woman pushing a shopping cart, you know, with all this, like, you know, like one of the first homeless people, you know, bag ladies, you know, that sort of thing. And I saw her, and I asked this guy who it was, and he told me this story about, I can't remember her name all these years. I still can't remember her name, though. But it turns out she came in to Nashville, and she was one of those, you know, promising new songwriter singers, you know, and she was gorgeous, you know, and just had just the real deal, pretty much, you know. But she got involved with all these, all the wrong people in Nashville, you know, and it just went bad for her, you know, real fast. And next thing you know,
go ahead and say the Sharks.
Sharks, you know, thieves, cutthroats, whatever. The worst that Nashville can, you know. But you know, I tell people when I do the song live, you know, that it's about basically the flip side of, you know, the entertainment business is not all smiles happy tales, and there's a lot of very sad stories out there, you know. And there's a bunch up here in Memphis, you know. But that's what it's about. So it's called Her Own Little World. Walks alone on the streets of Nashville, another star that never did shine. The one dream she never came close to, she could have been the new Patsy Cline. She never made it back home to Georgia. She don't remember much of that life. She don't recall the desperate moment she turned out the lights and she said goodnight. Now she hears these voices singing sweet dreams and a twangy guitar. The light is a spotlight on her, and the crowd yells out for just one more. She's alone in her own little world. You never know this was a pretty young farm girl with a box of songs and a silver-toned guitar, crystal blue eyes and a voice from heaven. She could have been a big country star. She walks around in these worn-out clothes, shopping carts filled with all she owns. Between the lies, rejections, and the come-ons, it's a shame this town had to be so cold. Now she hears these voices singing sweet dreams and a twangy guitar. Neon light is a spotlight on her, and the crowd yells out for just one more. She's all alone in her own little world. Now she hears these voices singing sweet dreams, baby. The light is a spotlight on her, and the crowd yells out for just one more. She's all alone in her own little world. Her own little world.
All right.
Andy Tanas, our guest on Juke and Jamm.
Appreciate it.
Her own little world.
I had a great time here today.
Well,
Wonderful
definitely,
time, you know.
definitely. You got to come back. I mean, this is
I'd like to, yeah.
You do.
part one.
Twist my arm, you know. More stories, more tales.
Yeah.
Songs from the dark side.
I think you two guys could have gone on for 5 or 6 hours today.
For hours.
You know, write a book about it, you know. I'm
Hey.
all up for it. Not enough of this is shared. I'm a big fan of Ron Hall's.
Oh yeah.
You know, Ron has, I'm glad he did what he did, you know, and putting out those, you know, all that old stuff, you know, and going to the time and trouble to do those books and research and everything, because that was a special time, and I really believe there's a movie waiting to be happening right there.
No, Ron Hall from Fame. Ron Hall.
I sold Ron Hall his Mellotron.
Oh.
I did, 1974. I did. I worked at a music store on Highland.
Burlow Swinger.
Don Dees.
Oh, okay.
Don Dees. I was the manager.
Okay.
Oh.
Slash flunky.
What did you do? All right.
Let's do this
One more
real
time.
quick.
Okay. Ready?
This is Andy
Go
Tanas.
ahead.
Hi, this is Andy Tanas. You're listening to Juke and Jamm and Juke and Jamm Memphis.
Cool. All right.
We
Go to jukeandjam.com.
Yeah, jukeandjam.com. Well, that's going to wrap it for the video segment. We're going to stick around for a few minutes.
Yeah.
here, and, hobnob, all that good stuff, and let you know you're listening to Juke and Jamm.
Cool or what?
Very cool. Do you mean to do a .com thing?
Yeah, do we do that one? Yeah, you can just do it right now. You can just do it live.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Andy Tanas, and this is Andy Tanas, and you're listening to JukeandJam.com.
Cool. All right, man, that was great. Part of that.